So part of the struggles of making videos on YouTube is actually finding clothes to wear. But you know, if Hamza can make 90% of his videos in a robe in his room, I can wear a robe one time in my videos. This is my robe, it's my favorite robe, and today we're gonna be answering questions from the question box. So if you have not submitted a question to my question, what am I saying? If you have not submitted a question to my question box, what are you doing? Don't run over there right now and submit a question, because the questions today are amazing. In this video, we're gonna be looking at placements and things that have to do with the natal chart. I do organize the questions by theme so that you can just decide whether you wanna watch that video or not. So today's theme is natal chart placements and basic natal chart stuff. So let's get started with the first question. This says, my Mars is in Aries in the 7th house at 29 degrees. I've read that the 29th degree is known as an energetic degree, and it sounds like it's almost in detriment. What does this mean for me? Are my passions and drive not like an Aries? My birth details are as follows. He included his birth details, but he did also tell me that his Mars was in Aries. I did pull up the chart just to be safe, because this is how I roll. And yes, indeed, his Mars is in the 7th house. And I'm going to tell you a very important thing right now. Sometimes in astrology, you are going to have things that are way more important than other things. So yes, my friend, you do have your Mars at the very last degree of Aries. And you will know that that will mean that there's a subtle difference, right? Between my Mars that is at 9 degrees of Aries and yours is at 29. What happens is that when a planet gets towards those very last degrees, what I have read, what I have heard, is that the planet is old in that energy and it's kind of ready to move on to the next thing. But the energetic degree, the very first degrees and the last degrees, I would say that that type of thing is a subtle difference rather than something that is very, very important and profound. And if you're writing me this question, I really think that it's because you don't feel like an Aries Mars person. Trust me, I know I'm a Mars and Aries. I know it. Nobody has to. That is one of the first things that I got into astrology, and I read about the Mars and Aries, and I was like, absolutely, I'm a Mars and Aries. I could feel it in my body. It is a very physical energy, your Mars. And if you do not feel like a Mars and Aries, then it's not just because it's at 29 degrees. I would say it's also because it's in the 7th house. That's another thing. Especially the masculine energy planets, when they're placed in the 7th house, they're going to be softer, because if you don't know, planets that are in the 7th house, that is where a planet goes to die, basically, because that is where the sun is setting. And so it means that those planets are not in their strength. They are weakened in the 7th house. If you don't want to be rude about it, they're not weak. They're just softer. They are more considerate than rather the planets that are in the 1st house, which is the opposite of it. So not only that, sir, but you're also a Libra rising. And so that is going to color your placements altogether. And so you got to touch the Libra because you're a Libra rising, but your Mars is also in that Libra house, right? So if you want to be real quick with it. So you have a little bit of the Libra energy interacting with your Mars. So that is why you do not feel like a Mars in Aries. Okay, so this person said, I'm a Gemini sun in the 8th house, Scorpio rising. Please share your best advice for this placement in terms of career path and finding love. Transformation and rebirth through tough experiences are common for me, but difficult and frustrating. They are difficult and frustrating for everyone, but you are better equipped at dealing with those things. First of all, because you're a Gemini and you're able to adjust, but you also are Scorpio rising, so you can really get the juice out of the difficulties that life has to offer, because just transforming pain is a thing that Scorpio rising does very well. They use it to transform themselves and come back stronger every single time. But what I would say about career, not just about your chart, but about everybody's chart, is that there are different ways of deriving the things that are going to be good for you in terms of career. If you have an overwhelming element, if you have an overwhelming sign, then yeah, you want to look at the things that deal with that sign. But a lot of times people are just like, oh, is it the midheaven? Is that my career? Not necessarily, not every time. There are different ways of going about doing this. There are way more careers now than there were at the inception of astrology, right? So looking at your chart is more about looking at the things that come easily to you, because it's like how I always say, would I be a wonderful lawyer? I absolutely would be a wonderful lawyer, but it would cause me a lot of stress to get me through that type of training. So instead, I use my ability with like language and speech. For example, some people are gonna be like, Denise, you're a terrible speaker. And I'm an okay speaker. I'm a better writer than I am with speaking. But law is something that I was interested in the past. As I was saying, I could have gone through all of that. It would have been difficult. I would have gotten through it, but like, would it have been worth it? I don't know. And this that I'm doing, it comes more easily, and I'm able to be more like lighthearted. My life is not as stressful. It just depends what kind of person you are and the types of things that not only, it's like, what do you want to do? What are you good at? And what are you willing to what are you willing to go through in order to get that thing, right? And it all depends on your chart, right? The energies that you have within you. So I cannot prescribe a thing to you just based on just your rising and Gemini. I mean, based on your rising and the fact that you're a Gemini, you could sift through information. You're very good at sifting through information when you have that combination of planets, because a Scorpio rising likes to look deeply at things, likes to consider things very deeply, likes to investigate. They're very curious and investigative. And then your sun is Gemini, which is Mercury ruled, and again, you like to sift through information. The relationship department is complex because you are a Gemini, so you like to interact with a lot of people, but it's in the 8th house. So it doesn't come easily to you. You're more protective of yourself. And this is, Gemini and Scorpio are hard to bring together because they are quincunx. They are in a quincunx relationship. And when you're talking about a quincunx relationship between two signs, it means that they have nothing in common. Like, they're not even opposite. They're not square. There's nothing in common between them. So this could be difficult to blend. And being a Scorpio Gemini is one of those things that I find difficult. And I'm just like, every time I see a chart like that, I'm just like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you okay? So that's what I have to say about that. If you would like a video on Scorpio Geminis, or who I call the Jafars of the zodiac, let me know in the comments if you'd like an entire video on the Jafars, or maybe on the different types of Scorpios that exist. But if I wasn't clear, the reason why it's difficult to be a Gemini and a Scorpio is because Gemini is more concerned with variety. Gemini wants to experience everything that there is to experience. Nothing makes Gemini sadder than the thought that they're not going to be able to do everything. There's not enough time for you to do everything. That's why they're always doing everything so quickly, because they're just like ravenously moving through life, trying to do and experience and say and learn and interact with everything possible. I always call them like curious kittens, just like running through life, just attacking everything. That is how they function. And Scorpio just wants to go deep. They don't gotta go all over the place. They just want to go very deeply, a couple of places. And like, how are you gonna do this far and wide Gemini thing and go very, very deep? It's very difficult to do. If you have the 3rd house moon in Scorpio and you've been my client, we talk about this all the time. It's very difficult to have that moon in Scorpio. Moon in Scorpio wants to go deep. The 3rd house wants to go wide. It is difficult. I know. How are you doing? Okay, so this next question says, hi, love your videos, thank you. In a recent video, you said that you would love to get some viewer questions, so here you go. I'm a Pisces Sun, Libra Moon, Leo Ascendant with a Sun square Mars. In the video I mentioned, you said something about the Sun square Mars thing. I'm wondering if the Sun square Mars is the reason I always feel more like an Aries than a Pisces. Yes, it is. I used to think it's a cusp thing, but now I understand that that's not a real thing. Would love to get your take on my situation. Thank you very much. Thank you for submitting your question. Absolutely. Look, cusps, no. When it comes to signs, no, I don't, no. That's why we have the 0 and the 29, right? You're still in the same sign. So there's no cusp there. My old dog is coughing. There is no cusp there. However, however, what I'm going to tell you right now is that when something in your chart is very important, when there's an energy that comes out overwhelmingly, this is going to be because of a multitude of reasons. So even if you wanted to say that it's because, it's at 29 degrees, it's on the very end of Pisces. I was almost an Aries. I'm on the cusp. Okay, you can, let's pretend that that's a thing. Maybe you want to believe it is a thing. Maybe it is, right? But because you feel that energy so strongly, it's more likely because you're a sun square Mars. And as I said, whenever something is very important, you're going to see it in more than one way. And especially because, take a look at this, take a look at this. If you use another zodiac, like if, let's just say you were like, I'm going to use the sidereal zodiac, I'm going to do Vedic astrology, then you would be moving from Pisces. Now you're at the end of Pisces, right? So you would be more of a Pisces. However, you would still be a Sun Mars person. So this is why aspects and relationships between planets are more important than signs. And I will just say that until I'm blue in the face, until I pass away, until I'm in a hole. I'm not going to be in a hole, I'm going to be cremated. But it's very important for you to know the things that are most important in astrology, and the aspects, the interactions between the planets are more important than the signs. Because in Vedic astrology, I'm a triple Scorpio. Can you imagine such a ludicrous idea? That's a ludicrous idea. But what I am is a Mars square Neptune. That is true regardless. That is true regardless. It doesn't matter what zodiac I use. And that is why you really want to focus on the aspects. So that was very smart of you to notice. The next question says, why are Cancer Sun 12th house people so undervalued in society? This is the most apt question for a Leo rising. If you're a Leo rising and your sun is in the 12th house, baby, all 12th house people are underappreciated in society. All 12th house sun people feel underappreciated in society. But the thing is that what I always tell my Neptunes and my 12th house people is you need to find the place where your sensitivity and your creativity are important, or a place where they are appreciated. Like in this tiny corner of the internet, people appreciate that I spend a lot of time reading and philosophizing on people's psyches. People tend to enjoy these videos. And, you know, I'm a 12th house Sagittarius sun. And I feel very appreciated because I found a very small place in the world where my 12th house little talents are appreciated. So where is it that I get it, you're a Leo rising, you want to shine everywhere. And the thing is that because you're a Leo rising, that sun is your chart ruler. So that sun is very important, and it really is going to illuminate your life in whatever area it is placed. And for you, it is the 12th house. As I said, that is the psyche, that is the unexplored mind of the human being. That is the place where people go to be away, right? And so you need to learn everything you possibly can learn about the 12th house, because that is where you can shine in a very specific way. That is where you can bring healing. That is where you can bring peace, love, nurturance, because you are a Cancer, right? And so, as I said, this is a very apt question. I never stopped to think about whether or not my sun was appreciated. I didn't. Why? Because I'm not a Leo rising, but you are. So that sun is so important to you. Learn to find a place where you will feel appreciated, because there is a place for everybody in the world, absolutely guaranteed. There's a place for everyone, and you just need to explore different areas until you find you're just gonna go, you're gonna try different things, and you're gonna show up somewhere, and people are gonna be like, you know what? Thumbs up. Thumbs up, you're doing a great job. And you're gonna be like, you know what? This is my place. This is my place in the world. And that's what I want for you, to keep exploring and find that place for you. Okay, so this next question says, hi Denise, I'm Jonah. Unless I'm too late to the question, I would like to ask you how dominant planets express themselves or make themselves noticeable in a person. Mercury came out as the most dominant by a long shot. However, Mercury neither rules my sun, moon, or rising sign. What does that say about me? Am I a mercurial person now? And is it Gemini Mercury or Virgo Mercury? I really appreciate your original and interesting content, as well as your likable and authentic personality. Best wishes. Thank you. So, okay. I don't know the way that you calculated your dominant planet. I don't know if you did it just through astro.com, which is a great way to do it, or if you used I don't know if I have a video on that. But one way you could do it is based on where is that Mercury. If that Mercury is placed in your first house, you will be predominantly Mercury, because you're going to lead with anything that is in your first house. So that Mercury is going to be You're going to be quick as a whip when you have Mercury in the first house. Your mind is going to be like very, very present in your body, and you're going to be able to process information very quickly. You notice things very quickly when Mercury's in your first house. If that Mercury is an aspect to a lot of your planets, so what does aspect mean? It means that it's seeing other planets, that it is interacting with other planets. That's another way that that Mercury can make you a Mercury dominant person. But I'm very surprised that it's not ruling any of your sun, moon, or rising sign. I don't know how you derived it. So I don't know what to tell you about that. But those are two ways that a planet can be very prominent. If it's in your first house, if it is conjunct an angle, if it is conjunct your sun. You didn't tell me if it's conjunct your sun. Is it conjunct your sun? My Mercury is conjunct my sun. Can you tell? This is why I do a lot of this and why I talk a lot of very fast and people are like, Denise, are you a Gemini? No, I'm not. I wish. I don't know why I didn't make videos standing up before, because this is way less exhausting than sitting down. I am standing on one leg right now, and we're gonna see how long I could stand. Look, can you see my knee? There's my knee. Let's see how long I could stand like this. Okay, so what else was I gonna say about this? Okay, hey Denise, I'm a Sag, rising Scorpio Sun and Capricorn Mars in the second house. Capricorn is a good sign for Mars, but honestly, I'm not sure if I really feel or if I really have that part of my life sorted out, as people say it should be, since Mars is exalted. I do consider myself disciplined and hardworking, but I'm not very quick to receive results. That's very important. And often, times I feel as though I have struggled more than the average person to get those results, which of course doesn't mean I'm gonna give up. I'm writing this sitting in the library studying late for a very important entrance exam. Good for you, Capricorn. I just feel as though others have it easier than me, or maybe I'm just not that smart academically. What do you think can be the cause of these thoughts, and how can I really use my potential to the best? I love this question. I feel like Capricorns, like we need a club where we just talk about Capricorn things that other people wouldn't understand. I'm still standing on one leg and I want you to see my knee so you can believe me. Okay, so the thing about Capricorn energy is that that is where you're gonna work the hardest. That is where you're gonna work the hardest and where the hard work is going to pay off. And so I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's just as hard for everybody else as it is for you. Absolutely not, sir. It's harder for you than it is for other people. Absolutely, because you do things. Sometimes Capricorns, let's just be for real, sometimes we make things more difficult because, you know, when people say, work smarter, not harder, Capricorn is just like, that's for lazy people. We're gonna work harder than smarter people. And sometimes we do, and sometimes it's to our detriment, right? I'm gonna switch legs. So I want you to just accept that that area of your life is going to be difficult, remember, like we are represented, Capricorns are represented by that mountain goat and by that very steep climb that only that mountain goat can take. And so you need to always remember that. Remember that you are elite and that you are doing elite things, and let the difficulty of what you're doing inspire you, and let the fact that you have to work harder than other people, that is a badge of honor to wear. Yes, you are working harder than other people. Yes, other people have it easier than you. So freaking what? You are elite. That is the Capricorn thing. We are not doing things in the way that other people are doing them. We are working harder. And because of that, we're going to be stronger than other people. And so when things are easy, they're going to be a breeze for us. And when things are hard, we're going to be ready, and other people are not, right? Because we are always working harder than others. And that is just something that you need to accept. And when you said that things don't come quickly, that is the Capricorn way. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn rules time. It rules old age. So this is not going to be comforting. Yeah, it's going to take you a while. It's going to take you longer, but that's because you're doing things correctly. You are taking the time to make sure that when you're doing something, if you're going to take the time to do something, you're going to do it right? So that's what you're doing. And you're just like, oh, but it is in my second house. The second house tends to be slow. It is associated with Taurus, so it's gonna be a little bull, right? It's like a mix of a bull and a mountain goat for you. So yeah, you're gonna take your time. It's gonna be slow. You're gonna be a little sleepy. Maybe do things that energize you. You need to find out what energizes your Mars. Is it competition? Is it just getting your ass up and going for a run? Is it just anything that gets you physically activated, that is what's going to kind of turn on your Mars in a way that is going to make you feel like you're getting more done. And it's really just about the mentality and how you're seeing things. And I think that you have a really good mentality because you're just like, yeah, it doesn't mean I'm going to give up. I'm sitting here in the library and studying for this very important exam. I'm still on one leg. I just want you to know. Okay, now I'm on two legs. So I think that you have the right attitude and you just needed to understand that like, that is the Capricorn, that is the way. It's gonna take you longer and that's totally fine. It's not a race. Life is not a race. It's not who gets there first. It's who gets there best, baby. It's who gets there best and you're gonna get there best. I'm not even concerned. Not even concerned. Okay, the next question says, could you explain how to look for careers? I have Pluto Sagittarius in the 10th house. Is this my career then? I kind of answered this in another question. You can go back there. But now this leads me to believe that would you guys like an entire video talking about different careers? Do you want me to go by sign? I guess let me know in the comments what you would want for me to do in terms of careers, because I have a bunch of books on vocational astrology. I even signed up for a class one time, but it got canceled. But I could do the research myself, and if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments. The next question says, hi Denise, I love the way you share your astrological knowledge. Thank you. Reading about astrology has been a habit of mine for many years. My question is, when reading my birth chart, I find it hard to know which is more accurate, whole sign or Placidus. Can you explain why you prefer one over the other? So I use whole sign for natal chart astrology. I use it for most everything, but especially for natal chart astrology. I have air quotes. I have found it more accurate. However, what I find is that, and this is me repeating myself from another question, but it's very, very important. When something in your chart is important, when it is overwhelmingly important, it does not matter. It will not matter what house system you use, because there are things that are more important than the houses. And that is the aspect of the planets. So let's just say you have a moon conjunct Pluto, and maybe the moon is in the first house in one house system, but you change to another house system and it's in the 12th house. And let's be for freaking real, both of those places would be very difficult for a moon Pluto person. If you're a moon Pluto person, let me know in the comments. Would it matter what house it's in? No, it would not matter, because that feeling, that pain, that Pluto-ness that you have connected to your emotions and to your needs is going to be there regardless of the house. So I don't want you to just waste a lot of time, because that could happen. That was me. I spent a lot of time going back and forth between systems. The reason why I use whole sign houses has more to do with the fact that I freaking love order. I love order. I like for things to be in their place. I like for things to look clean. And so to me, especially for a beginner, that natal chart looks so clean when it is in whole sign houses. So that is the main reason why I use it. But if you find that there is an energy, let's just say you have planets in the 12th house and in one system, but then when you switch to another one, they're in the 11th house, and you're just like, Denise, but I really feel like a 12th house person. Well, maybe you're freaking Pisces, or maybe you have Neptune interacting with your planets, and so it doesn't, you're still gonna have that 12th housiness to you, so it doesn't matter. Use the house system that feels truest to you, or don't even worry about that. What I say is to use whole sign houses, because all of the nerds right now that I could think of use whole sign houses. Robert Hand uses whole sign houses. That's my favorite astrologer. I love him. And so I really want a poster of Robert Hand. I really think that is not that important. My planets switch, a bunch of my planets switch into the 11th house when I go into Placidus. And some people are just like, oh, you just choose your planets so they could be in the 12th house. No, baby, I wish my planets were in the 11th house. I would be way cooler if all of my planets were in the 11th house. Maybe that is my chart. Maybe I'm that cool. Maybe. Okay, so this is the next question. Cancer Sun, 2nd house, Aquarius Moon, 9th, Gemini Rising, 1st, Gemini Venus, 1st, Cancer Mercury, so on and so forth. And then she says, since I'm fairly new to astrology, sorry if this is a dumb question. There is no dumb question, so don't you worry about that. How much should I be paying attention to progressions when looking, this is a wonderful question, when looking into things versus my birth signs? Because I looked at my progressions chart and I went from Cancer Sun, Aqua Moon, Gemini Rising to Leo Sun, Aries Moon, Cancer Rising. Does that make me a Leo now? How does this change things? Thanks, Denise. I hope this wasn't too silly of a question. No, it was actually a very high level question, so thank you for submitting it. And I bet you a bunch of other people are confused about this. Also, I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate your content so much and can really tell you care about your viewers. I absolutely do. The unsolicited relationship advice video really spoke to me at such a key time in my life, and I still constantly look back at it as a reminder. Thanks again, Shin. Thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot to me because I do care. I make these videos because I want them to help people. Even if they're silly, I'm just a silly person. I'm a Sagittarius and I don't want to make it so serious and like, you know, but I really care about everybody who watches these videos. But wonderful question. So when you're barely starting with astrology, I think you should focus on natal astrology and your natal chart because there is so much there for you to get. You can spend a bunch of time realizing that your moon is an aspect to Pluto, and that will take you like a whole year to process and think about and talk about with your astro homies, your astro friends. Get an astrology reading, all of the time that you're going to spend thinking about this one part of your chart. And then you're going to move on to your Venus and the fact that it's in the 8th house. And you're going to spend a bunch of time thinking about that. There's so much juice to be gotten just from the natal chart alone. And then when you start moving into, look, I'm not going to lie to you. You want to hear the absolute truth? I do not use progressions. I do not look at mine. I mean, I look at them afterwards. I mean, they're very slow. So it's going to be a while that this energy is going to be affecting you. And what you need to know about the progress chart is that it is more subtle. It is more subtle because it shifts so slowly. So this is not going to be like you're going to wake up and you're like, am I a Leo now? No, you're not a Leo now. This is a subtle sort of vibe that kind of goes over your natal chart. That natal chart is still way more important, in my opinion, than your progress chart. Some people, the people that are really into movement are really going to be really angry at me, but that is just what I believe. And when we're using other methods of moving the chart and prediction and all of that, forecasting, I really like the solar return because it is like a very neat container. It's like a year of your life and you could feel the shift that happens in 1 year. Trust me. Look at your solar return chart and tell me right now that you do not feel that moon changing, especially when your moon changes into a sign that is completely different than your natal moon. Oh, you're gonna feel that moon. If you're a Sagittarius moon and then suddenly you're a Scorpio moon, you're going to feel it. You're gonna feel it. People around you are gonna. My husband is a Libra rising. And my boy had a very intense Aries moon year last year. I did not, like, we had no issues because I'm cool with Aries energy and we don't really have beef, but everybody heard that Aries moon. Everybody else heard because he's overwhelmingly Libra and that Aries energy came in with a punch. And so that's a shift that you absolutely will notice. Progressions, you're really not going to feel it. It's more like a theme sort of vibe, right? It's not a very like physical, quick, acute change. It is more like a chronic change, if you know what I'm saying. So this was a wonderful question. And as you said, you're kind of a beginner. Focus on the natal chart for now. It's very important. I'm making my astrology introduction course video log right now. So, video log, what am I saying? I'm making my astrology intro course right now that I'm posting on YouTube, and I hope you check it out because I think it's gonna come out really good. Next question is, hello, I've been told that my planets are disturbed. Is there anything I can do on my end to fix this through meditation, Reiki, etc.? Thank you so much, and your YouTube page is awesome. Thank you so much. So who told you your planets are disturbed? That person is disturbed for saying that. Nobody's planets are freaking disturbed. I've made videos about this, but briefly, I'll put the videos here, but briefly, nobody's planets are disturbed. When they're talking about your planets being in detriment or being in fall, what it means is that that planet, it's gonna have to do kind of funky things to do what it needs to do, right? So if we're talking about the sun is not super happy in the sign of Aquarius. But does that mean that Aquarius people don't know how to sun, don't know how to do the function of the planet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because you still have the planet and it's still going to operate. It is just going to operate in its own way. And so thinking about the detriments and all of that is not useful if you're not translating it into a modern way. And the way that I like to say this is that, you know, like back in the day when astrology was invented, we didn't have a lot of technology or ways of improving ourselves. But now, buddy, like you can just go on YouTube and you can learn how to do absolutely anything. Like short of giving yourself plastic surgery, you can learn anything on YouTube. So anything that you're having trouble with, you can find a solution for. You absolutely can. Maybe I'm just obsessed with self-improvement and self-help stuff. I am, because I need it. But if there's something in particular that you want help with, you could YouTube it, Google it, send me another question, email me, and I could relate it back to your chart. But even within this question, I could tell you that even if you have a planet that is in detriment, there are other mitigating factors within your chart that will help you out. So I have a friend who has a Libra Mars in the 12th house. Libra Mars is in detriment, right? Already as it is. It's in the 12th house. That's a terrible place for a Mars, especially already one that's in detriment. My friend is so successful. She is the most successful lady friend that I have. She is so ambitious. She is so hardworking. She has gotten so far in life all by herself without the help of no man. And she's done this because she's herself, right? But because that Mars that is in detriment, it's conjunct her sun. It's in a square with Jupiter and Saturn. So she's had a hard life. She's had a tough time, but that blessed Jupiter that she has, it really, really helps her. It's in Cancer. It's exalted in Cancer. So that exalted Jupiter is really lifting up that Mars. And that's what can happen in a chart. And so you can have somebody that has a really tough life and has a really bad planet, but they end up doing all right because there's something else in their chart that is helping them out. So don't think about your chart or your planets as disturbed. Absolutely not. That person who told you that was disturbed themselves. And no, just don't. Okay, this next question says, how to deal with the impulsive tendency of expressing a planet conjunct the North Node. Don't. Just make sure that you are expressing that planet in the healthiest way possible. I'm just going to assume that you mean like your sun. What is it? Are you arrogant? Don't be arrogant. Be creative. Be the center of attention, but have something worthwhile to share. There's nothing wrong with expressing planets that are conjunct your North Node. That is what you're growing into. You're meant to hone in on the skills of that planet in order to allow it to shine. And this is not a negative thing. You just don't want to do it, as you're saying, impulsively. You want to do it more methodically. You want to make sure that you are being refined with the way that you were expressing the energy of that planet. I would even say that planets conjunct the South Node are more difficult because the South Node has no consciousness. It is the tail of the dragon, and the North Node is the head of the dragon, and the head has consciousness. So you want to use your mind on the North Node planet. So think about the way that you're going to express it and do it more methodically, more well thought out, as opposed to like a planet conjunct the South Node, right? So maybe the impulsiveness is not necessarily coming from the North Node. Maybe it's coming from something else or the planet itself, but there's nothing wrong with expressing it. You just want to make sure that you use your noggin a little bit. Be more thoughtful and thorough whenever you're thinking about how you're going to express it. But this is a wonderful question. Okay, I love this question. It says, have you ever listened to Bjork? She's a Scorpio sun, moon, and rising, and you are the Scorpio whisperer after all. I find her so inspiring, and the music is just so magical and so beautiful to me. I'm a Cancer sun, rising, Mercury, Mars, Venus, so maybe that has something to absolutely mega Cancer. Absolutely, that is why you love her. I'm gonna be super for real right now. Mina from Midnight Zero Astrology, my bestie, she loves Bjork, and I feel like disrespectful to even act like I like Bjork compared to Mina because I just know Mina loves Bjork. And let me tell you why Bjork's music doesn't say Scorpio to me, maybe because I'm a toxic Scorpio Venus, but Bjork is too magical to be Scorpio. And the reason why this is the case is because Bjork has Neptune in the first house in Scorpio. So she's taking all of the water of Scorpio and she's taking it to the freaking angels. So she's like an angel to me. And yes, I see that she's got like the black hair and like I could see that, yeah, there's Scorpio there. Obviously, she's overwhelmingly Scorpio, but she's just too magical. She's more of a fairy to me, and that is very Neptune. So she doesn't read Scorpio to me. When I think Scorpio, I think The Weeknd. He's a Scorpio moon and he's a rising Cancer, and his music to me is very, very Scorpio. Do you like his music? Or do you like, well, do you like his music? I want to know. I'm very curious now. So Bjork, I love Bjork. She's a Neptune goddess to me. I don't perceive it as Scorpio as much. Maybe there's more music to her, but she's just so magical. I just hear her voice and I'm just like, this is just a fairy singing to me, right? I can't even, right? So Mina loves Bjork and I can't even pretend that I like her as much as Mina. Mina loves her. Okay, next question. Hey Denise, love your videos. I had a question about the elements video. I checked out my chart and I couldn't figure it out. Each element had almost equal points. I'm a Pisces Sun, Scorpio Moon, and Taurus Rising. I don't know if this will work, but I'm putting the link into my chart. Okay, the link didn't work, so I wasn't able to see your chart. And so you want to email me this link, or you want to email me your birth details so that I could help you out with that. I could even use it in a video, if you don't mind, to help people, guide them through that process of finding their dominant element, if you would like. And this question says, continuing on with the stellium, I didn't give you my info. My sun is Gemini, moon is Taurus, rising Libra, 8th house stellium. There was one more question, but it cut off and I don't have the rest of the question, but I think she was asking about a stellium and what a stellium does. So essentially a stellium is when you have 3 or more planets, especially including personal planets, in a house, in a sign. And what that means is that there's like an overwhelming like force of that sign within you. And so what it does, it creates a lot of passion around the topics that have to do with that sign and that house. And it is overwhelming. It is like a huge part of who you are. And stelliums really help stelliums, or the correct way to say it is stellia, but I don't want to be pedantic, right? So I'm going to say stelliums like the people would say it. So it gives you a lot, having a stellium gives you a lot of drive for that area of the chart, especially if you're talking about personal planets, because the personal planets are parts of your personality. And if you are very like honed in on one area, then all of your focus is going to go there. So they give you a lot of focus and a lot of passion there. So that is what happens when you have a stellium. So guys, this video has been kind of long. I'm going to try to edit it down to a reasonable amount of time. Jesus, this is 38 minutes. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out videos every single week and I'll see you in the next one.